Okay, so I'm still sitting out here in this glorious autumn sunshine. So a lot of people keep asking me about diet. What's my diet? And as you can see through my Instagram posts, also on my YouTube, I'm very heavily keto, carnivore, ketovore. But I wasn't always like that. And I'm just sort of like laughing at some things, you know, some of the posts that especially Sean Baker posts. And this one's the funniest one I've seen so far. How I made a vegan chuck roast. Oh, damn it. I lost it. But anyway, and he says, just pretend that it's not meat like vegans do. And you've heard the comments every now and then, little snippets. I was vegan for 2 decades of my life. Literally over 2 decades of my life. And it was probably the worst health time of my life. I was overweight, I had chronic fatigue, I had severe leg pains, which was what they diagnosed as restless leg syndrome, also known as sciatica. And people are going to go, oh, that's not true, it's not sciatica, you're not a doctor. Let me tell you, the restless leg syndrome diagnosis was a crock of shit. But a lot of that was because I was severely overweight. I think I topped to about 104 kilos. And I'm a short person, so I was really heavily overweight. And you know what? I was vegan, and I can tell you now, in those 2 decades of being vegan, the first 3 years were probably the best years of my vegan life because I felt re-energized. I was eating heaps more. I was actually eating more food than I was on my normal sort of Greek Mediterranean diet. And I was eating a lot more veggies and a lot more smoothies. So I was incorporating a lot of that in. And as with any diet, you sometimes feel really good when you've made a change, especially the first 3 years. You'll notice a difference when you follow it. And then I started craving the fake cheeses, the fake meats. And back then, like I'm 49, so in my early 20s, you couldn't find vegan food. First of all, I was drinking soy milk when I was 19. That's 30 years ago. I was drinking soy milk because I was lactose intolerant. The problem with all that stuff is all that veganism, all that... There's a whole concept to being veganism. I didn't become vegan because I felt sorry for animals. I'm sorry. I actually like eating a cow. I became vegan because of other reasons, and that will be another topic. So the worst health I ever had was when I was vegan. And like I said, it was incremental. It didn't happen overnight. Like the first 3 years I felt fantastic. I looked good. And then it just started changing. When I look back, I see where the changes started happening. And I started craving the fake meats, the fake cheeses. And eventually I started putting on weight, and it was like yearly, like every year I took photos, I saw myself, and I was so appalled at my body shape and size and weight, and I was really disgusted in myself. And I tried really, really hard, and I was like, but I'm vegan, you know, I'm eating well. Why isn't this working? Why am I fat? Why am I overweight? Why am I always constantly tired? Every time I'd eat something that didn't agree with me, I'd be vomiting every single night. It was like a constant battle. And I wasn't bulimic, trust me, I was not bulimic. I was over 104 kilos. That was the last time I weighed myself because I was so disgusted. It wasn't until I saw a photo of myself, someone took a photo of me down at the beach, and I never wore a pair of bathers again. I was so mortified that my body, I looked like a snowman. I just had layers of fat surrounding my body. And one doctor said to me, knock on wood, you don't have diabetes because you are morbidly obese for your weight. Now, I've seen morbidly obese people. I never viewed myself as morbidly obese. I knew I was overweight. I was uncomfortable. I didn't sleep. I felt like I had 3 minutes sleep, but I used to sleep 12 hours and I wasn't getting any quality sleep. I was constantly fatigued. I was always tired. I was grumpy. I couldn't keep my food down. I had severe candidiasis. Probably the lady who did my test said that's the worst case she'd ever seen of candidiasis. And I tell ya, thrush, 10 times a year, scratching down there until you bled was not a nice thing. I was taking medications for intestinal worms, for everything that they could think of, because nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. I'd break out in a body rash for 7 weeks straight, where I was literally peeling the skin out of my hair, like out of my scalp. I'm just looking in the camera. I used to bleed in my scalp. I used to bleed on my neck and chest. I used to bleed on my armpits, the back of my knees, my groin area. I was scratching like I was a flea-infested mat. God knows what was going on with my body. Nobody can figure it out. No dermatologist, no doctor. I had tests. I had every single blood test you can think of for allergies. Sorry, that's a car reversing. And nothing came up conclusive of what was wrong with me. Before I turned 40, I promised myself I'd never be fat and 40. Fat and 40 was not two things that were going to happen to me. And I had dieted 20 plus years of my life. Half of my life, which is ridiculous, isn't it? You diet for what? And I did everything. Like I said, I saw doctors, I went on to medication, I tried every diet. I lost a little bit and then I put double back on. Once I hit 40, I realized that something had to change, and it wasn't until I couldn't put my sandals on because I couldn't bend over from the size of my breasts, the size of my stomach, the size of my thighs. I couldn't even bend over to put my sandals on, to strap them. I asked my husband to do it and I was crying. When my dad died, I fell off my keto journey and started eating emotionally. And food is a very psychological thing. And being Greek, if you don't eat the whole plate of food, there's something wrong with you. I had to learn to not eat everything. I had to re-educate myself on what was nutritious, what is good for my body. So after 40, I think it was about 45, 43, I had downloaded a book on paleo. And I also got help by a nutritionist in Sydney, and her website is Star Anise Foods, and her name is Sula Chamberlain. And she helped me understand over phone consultations what nutritious food was. And she had been on a health journey as well. And I think everybody, to be honest, everybody is on a health journey. Because see, we're confused about what food is, what diet we should have. There's so many diets. Every week there's a new diet. Every time you hear something, oh, keto is bad for you. Oh, you shouldn't do keto. You might get ketoacidosis. You shouldn't do carnivore because where's your fiber coming from? And you know what I say? I don't think caveman had these issues. I don't think caveman survived millennia if he was worried about getting his fruits and veggies in. Caveman risked life and limb to hunt down the biggest, fattiest animal on the planet. I mean, our ancestors hunted the woolly mammoth into extinction. And there's a reason why. Because he wasn't vegan. Because he needed fat to sustain himself. What I loved about keto was it introduced me to a world of new food. And yes, I did the keto cupcakes, I did the keto cakes, I did the keto desserts, and that's what got me through, and I'm really happy with that. But my tastes have changed. I no longer have that hankering for sweet tooth. If I actually want something sweet, I can probably do with a tablespoon of honey, or actually a teaspoon of honey, a tablespoon of maple syrup. I love maple syrup. I try not to keep a lot of maple syrup in the house. Diet, everybody's confused about diet. I don't want to tell people what to do because I'm not a nutritionist. And to be honest, I don't think you need to be a nutritionist to tell people what is the right food for their body. I can tell you what I eat. And yes, I've been known to have the odd non-keto carnivore food all the time. And I know that I'm using that as an emotional excuse, and it has been. But I can tell you now, it's really hard to kick that addiction, that that sugar addiction to the curb. Because once you taste that again, it's like a drug. It's like you want that again, and you're constantly thinking about it. Like every time I go to the supermarket, I don't walk down those aisles because I know I want to buy that Snickers bar. I know I want to buy that picnic bar, and most of all, Above all chocolate, I love licorice. I love licorice. Crazy as it sounds, I love licorice. If there was a keto version of licorice, I'd make it in a heartbeat. But every time I've made licorice, it turns to shit. So I've given up. So I don't force people, and I don't tell them what they should be doing. My taste buds have changed. I love really high fat. I love Wagyu meat, and yes, it is expensive, but that's the meat I want. I don't want butchers to trim the fat off my meat. I make sure that my lamb is the fattiest lamb. That's where the flavour is, and for me it's also where it's satiating. I use beef tallow to cook my steaks in. I use pork fat to cook my eggs in, or butter or ghee, depending on how I do my eggs. But I didn't realise in my past that the fruits and veggies are what caused my issues. And now, ever since I've done keto, I've been on keto 4 years, keto, not so much strict keto. I've been doing very dirty keto. But I can tell you now, there's some things, especially when I tried carnivore at the beginning of the year, I did a total of 5 weeks of just full carnivore, and I noticed a couple of differences. One is, I don't think I can handle that much seasoning anymore. So even salt at this point, I've noticed, is causing me a bit of a stomach upset. So I'm finding that I think salt is now causing me a little bit of discomfort. If I put no seasonings on food, I'm okay. So I'm finding that the seasonings is what's causing some of my issues, and that's because I've become almost like hypersensitive now to a lot of foods. There's a lot of things I can't eat anymore that I started off on keto. I can't do the muffins that much anymore. My husband loves it. I make them for him. There's a lot of foods that I can't eat anymore, and that's okay, because you know what? If I'm eating cleaner produce, if I'm actually eating ingredients with only a short ingredient list instead of a long ingredient list, then that's good for my body. So, and I think I just have to listen to. You have to be intuitive to see what works for you. Like I say, I work really, really, really well with high fat, loads of protein, because it satiates me, and just drinking water and sparkling water is probably the best, and that's when I feel the best. But once I introduce spices, and especially salts, they do affect me. So I have to be really careful what I season my food with compared to the family's food. And two is I need movement. My body needs movement and exercise. So those are the things that work for me. And I can do Ketovore without a problem, because I really do want like a fruit every now and then. We've got citrus trees around us, and we grow our own mandarins and limes and lemons. So if I want to have a piece of fruit, I'm going to have that piece of fruit, especially mandarins. We grow them. So yeah, I'm going to have it. But I'm not going to eat it unconsciously. I eat it because I'm craving for it. It's no big deal. I don't know why I'm the only weird wacko one, where I used to be vegan and they thought I was the weird one. Now I'm even more weird because I actually eat the fat off meat. I will rip the skin off a chicken and eat that. And if there was 2 chickens, I'd eat the skin off that one too. And that's all I want to eat, is just the skin off a chicken. If there's lamb, I'll just rip into that nice salty, fatty, juicy fat that's like either crisped or wobbly. I eat that. Pork belly, oh my god, love pork belly. So I'm a real I salivate over the fat. Everybody else dry retches and wants to vomit in their mouths when they see me eating, because I'm really disgusting. I just eat with my hands. So, and you got to remember, I spent almost half my life as a vegan, and like I said, during that time, that was when after 40 I had that awakening, and I realized I wasn't going to live a long life the way I was eating. I just knew deep down on such a core level of your existence, I wasn't eating right. And so Sula Chamberlain, and she got me on the journey of nutrition. I hit keto, and carnivore just really came up on my radar last February, I think, February, March. It was just before COVID lockdowns, and I was very intrigued with carnivore, and I was like, I don't know if I could do this. Look, I still don't know if I could do it 100% carnivore. I don't, but I do predominantly eat carnivore. I'll eat the odd grape, I'll eat the odd fruit, I'll eat the odd vegetable if I feel like it. I always thought that there was something wrong with me once I did keto, why I didn't like veggies. I mean, the only thing I ate was cauliflower for a really long time. There are a lot of vegans out there who are, I can tell you now, because I used to be one of them, and every time someone ate meat and they'd be saying to me, why don't you eat a steak or eat some eggs, and I'll be like, you're eating a dead carcass. And I was such a bitch about it. I was so bitchy about it. Didn't stop me from having leather jackets and shoes, no big deal, and beautiful leather bags, but I think we have this concept in our mind that being vegan is saving the planet. The truth is you're not. Vegans have this concept also that killing an animal is wrong. You're taking a life, you're eating a dead carcass. It was once living and breathing if it had eyes and a heart or a mother. But did you know plants are living? Plants feel pain when they're being cut down. So if that's your prescription of why you're vegan, then you should not be eating even plants, because they do feel and they do grow because they're nurtured by sunlight, by air, and by water. They are fed, so that concept's out the window. But I did make a comment once about vegans, and I find that they are almost like the food terrorists. They are food terrorists. They terrorize anyone who eats meat. You are insignificant, you are this and that because you eat meat. I was vegan and it almost killed me. I was sick. I was overweight. I was probably most likely depressed. I had skin conditions. I had gut conditions. I had a lot of body aches, and that was because my body did not tolerate veganism after the second decade. And I know there's people out there like Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. Esselstyn, what's the other dude that was with Paul Saladino, and Dr. Joel Furham. I mean, I used to buy all their DVDs. I used to do all this stuff, you know. I fermented my own vegetables. I did all that. And talking about the lactose intolerant, I choose not to drink milk because I don't like the taste of it. Once I actually started fermenting my own milk, not as my daily regime, I wish I did it more daily. I'm very lazy. I have coffee first thing in the morning. I really should be having milk kefir. Once I started making my own milk kefir about 5 years ago, and that was from a lady called Donna Schwenk. Not Donna Gates. Donna Gates does a lot of the fermented stuff, but Donna Schwenk really introduced me to making my own milk kefir and water kefir, and she has an abundance of recipes. I mean, prolific recipe creator of fermented foods. I'll put her website details below. Once I actually started having milk kefir and fermenting my own milk, I was not lactose intolerant. Yeah, I can get a little bit phlegmy after eating cheeses and stuff, but I get phlegmy even after eating certain foods too anyway, so it makes no difference whether it's a milk-based product or not. But I really do not like drinking milk. I just don't like the taste of it. I can handle a bit of cream in my coffee, but that's it. I'm not telling people what you should be eating. I'm telling you to be conscious and to be smart and intelligent, because you were given a brain to decipher what is right for you. But you got to remember, caveman, our ancestors never had this issue. They survived on what they could, and most of the time our diet was predominantly meat, and there was vegetables and there was fruits and there were grains. And you got to remember, grains only were introduced 10,000 years ago. Once we started moving into agriculture, things changed and our diet changed, so our bodies slowly adapted to the grains. But they're not the grains of today. Today our grains have been genetically modified and altered and lab created. So they're not the foods of 10,000 years ago. And neither are the fruit and vegetables the same as they were thousands and thousands of years ago. We have genetically altered all our fruit and veg anyway. So that's probably why some things just don't agree with you. Our body is so innate. Our DNA is so ancient. There's a specific way we should be eating, and everybody's got to figure it out for themselves. You don't have the excuse of saying, I didn't know. You're not ignorant. You are not an ignoramus. You have at your fingertips the worldwide web of searching about everything related with health and diet. It is up to you to decide what you want out of your life. So I'm going to put a little list below of the people that I've just mentioned, but there are mentors of mine, which I will talk about in another video, of who really helped me along the way of my health journey. And I have to say, I really love Dr. Sean Baker's face on this video. I don't know if you can see that. He just pulls the funniest faces. So your health journey is yours alone to take. It is your responsibility. You take responsibility for your own health, and no one else takes responsibility for you. It's up to you whether you want people to help you, and it's up to you whether you how far you want to go. But at the end of the day, if you want to live the most extraordinary, healthy, disease-free life, then take a leap. What have you got to lose? I mean, the only thing I can tell you now, what is more important than anything in the world, and it is not money, it is your health. When you have your health, you have an abundance of wealth. That is, my friends, the most important truth you need to know. When you live a life that is drug-free, pill-free, doctor-free, chemical-free, man, you've got all the wealth in the world. It's because your health cannot be bought, and it cannot be fixed once you've damaged it irreversibly. You can manage it through diet, and everybody says that. Everybody who's doing keto, everybody who's doing carnivore, why are they doing it? It's because they've had to. A lot of the people that you see who are doing carnivore is because their health was crumbling and they had to claw their way to get it back. And I applaud all those people. They are my heroes. They are my mentors of getting me up every day and making that decision, no, not to eat that chocolate, and no, not to have that bagel. They're the ones who inspire me daily, because they've survived some of the worst illnesses that are unimaginable to the rest of us. They're my heroes. That is why I do what I do. I'm not telling people what to do. You need to make that decision for yourself. How you want to eat, whatever you stick in your mouth is up to you. You know, it is your right to do what you want. Truthfully, man, I wish I can get back those 20 years that I was vegan. I would have done things so much more differently, because I did go through 2 decades of pretty crappy health, and I wish I could get that back, but I can't. So now I'm spending the rest of my life, and I'm turning 49 in a month and a half. Actually, I feel better now than I did when I was 20, and I'm turning 49. So I look forward to the rest of my life. I'm excited about the rest of my life, and that's how I want everybody to be. You got to be excited about every day you wake up. You got to be excited that you are turning, you're turning another year older on your next birthday. I'm excited about hitting 50 and 60 and 70 and 80 and 90 and yes, 100. I'm hoping that I get to 110, because once I hit those triple digits, I can say, man, do I know some shit. So with that, I want to say I love you regardless of who you are, what you eat, and your views on and beliefs on anything. And I'm going to say one thing in Greek, stine yasu, which means to your health, because you deserve it.